and welcome back. We are back with this beautiful man named Daniel Holeman, and I just love his soul so much. Welcome back to Angelic Summit 2022, everybody. It is Stephanie Lodge. We are in the final stretches of this beautiful day that we've been unfolding through and uplifting with and anchoring so much light into this planet as guardians of light, united for peace, right? And what better way than to tap into the grace stream to access those angelic art nature, right? Those angelic artist natures, right? And Daniel's going to talk to us a little bit about that. But I just want to say hi, Daniel. Let's just start with that. Hi. How are you doing?
Hi, Stephanie. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you made it. As I was telling Daniel before we started, and I'm going to read his bio in a second, this is the artist that I've been showing you the cards from, right? When we pulled our cards earlier in the summit, and we had these beautiful cards come up, and I just want to remind everybody, in case you're joining for the first time, we had manifestation, right? And we had transformation, beautiful earth coming out. It's like an iris. I love that. And then let your light shine, which is just so gorgeous. I know it's that heart above. There's so much detail and intricacy, and with the lights, it's not so easy to always see it. But this is the beautiful artwork also all over Angelic Summit 2022 website, right? And this is why, because Daniel's part of this amazing initiative with Heal.art, and we'll talk about that a little. But in this moment, I want to just introduce you to the man named Daniel B. Holeman. Artistic talent combined with lifelong exploration of consciousness and devotion to self-realization has given Daniel B. Holeman an ability to depict uplifting and profound sacred imagery. His inspirational paintings often have a strong impact on people. Daniel feels it is not so much the beauty, but the place it stirs within that people are responding to. He invites the viewer to dive into a deeper dimension of consciousness while viewing his paintings, allowing the high frequency imagery to activate their own higher frequencies within. The imagery activates forgotten awareness of a felt sense of home, a warm, familiar, and heartfelt state of mind. And his videos are a deeply moving experience to behold as well. Daniel's primary role in life is that of a messenger and guide for all who are ready to realize our unity. He offers insight, clarity, and counsel on living in this world without awareness. And the art that comes through him is the creative expression of that role. He is a way shower, helping others to realize and live their unique higher purpose, their fullest potential, based on a foundation of unity consciousness and the clarity of being who we are designed to be and the role we are here to live in life. He is also an ambassador for the Gene Keys and Golden Path transformation tools and offers introduction and guidance on those. And you can find him at awakenedvisions.com, and I will be posting that here momentarily. Welcome again, Daniel B. Holeman. How are you? How are you? I know we already kind of answered that, but now that you've had your wings kind of fluffed, does it feel good? I hope. It's always good to recognize what we've done.
Yes,
right?
I feel very honored and respected. Thank you very much.
So
I'm sorry, what was that?
A little bit about how you got started as an artist. I'd love to know, what brought you into the journey of artists, because there's many types of artists in the world, but I really love the light that comes through your work. And if you can talk a little bit about what you tap into for that.
Well, I had not ever really thought of myself as being an artist. When I was really young, I enjoyed doing art in art class in high school, and people would comment on some of the stuff that I would show how to do a certain technique, like pen and ink, for example, and I would go do pen and ink for them and play on my own with it after learning the technique because I liked it. And I used to do kind of psychedelic type stuff, imitating the album covers and the posters of the psychedelic 60s, from the Fillmore little postcards and stuff like that. But yeah, it wasn't until I was in my late 30s and I had been training people on computer software and hardware, traveling around chiropractic offices. And I didn't actually, I kind of liked the training part of it, but the subject matter was kind of technical and kind of dry. And I'd been coming across material from Joseph Campbell, Follow Your Bliss. And there was a book that had come out called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. I was thinking, what could I be doing that would be a better fit for me and that I enjoy? And I remembered enjoying art in high school. So I actually said a prayer, and this is where the grace, one of the ways of accessing grace is just in prayer, earnestly, of like, show me how to become an artist, because I had no clue whatsoever. It was just foreign to me. So within 5 days, I got a phone call from the company saying they were going out of business. I at first a little bit, but then I thought, after I hung up the phone, I thought, oh, this must be an answer to my prayer. So, because I just asked, show me how to go about this process. So I bumped into it and went down to the art store and told the guy to sell me everything I need to be able to be an artist, with the canvas and the brushes and the paints and all this stuff. And I just started painting. And at first it was pretty elementary, pretty simple, because I didn't really know how to paint very much. But I kept at it and kept growing over time and got better at it and started to kind of develop a style of my own. But that's how I started off, was saying a prayer.
So now when you're doing your art now, do you do it digitally at all, or is it all kind of canvas and then you transfer? What's your process actually? So I understand, like nowadays.
Well, I started off doing just oil on canvas. It was what I did for a number of years. And then I lost the home that had a studio in it. And at the same time, a friend of mine, who I still friends with today, and this was back in 1996, 97, gave me a computer. And I'd heard about Photoshop. So I bought Photoshop and I scanned photographs, scanned in graphs of my work, the oil paintings, which I had just started also adding a little airbrush touch-up to give a little kind of etheric, glowy feel to some of the artwork, which I had bought from another artist. What you do after the oil paint is dry, then you get it just kind of very faintly put in little glows and stuff around the edges of things and stuff. And it gives a kind of a nice effect. But anyway, I scanned those in and just started playing around in Photoshop with combining images and mixing different effects that were available in Photoshop onto existing things and adding little things and just doing little manipulations, and more or less developed my own little technique or style that's originally based on original pen and ink drawings and oil paintings that have been scanned in and then manipulated over time with digitally.
Yeah, I can tell that there's like these different dimensional layers in your work. Like when I tune into them, and I know in your bio you talk about how they have kind of this energy to them that can activate. Really, I mean, I use them as activators. I've used your deck, this deck specifically, the Secret Language of Light deck, for a while now in my private groups, because I would, be in communion with my angels and then ask them, what is it right now that would best serve us to know, maybe, and pull a few cards, right? And then I would throw them up to the camera and it would activate. When we first started using them, I really find that there is a semblance, like you said, of just coming into a state of peace or even that grace, right? And we talked about, you said something about the grace stream in the title of the talk, which is kind of fun. What do you feel today, in the work that you do now? I mean, obviously you have the art that you're doing and you're working on many oracle decks and projects and that continues. But I find it fascinating you also work with the gene keys, right? And the other tools that you work with. What do you find brings you your greatest, I guess, fulfillment and joy, as we move through these extraordinary times?
Well, the thing that's always given me the most joy since I was, a young adult, was sharing what I found meaningful mostly about life, about how things work and the different issues issues that we encounter as humans in our human condition. Just the trials and tribulation, getting to a place of harmony within and, of course, without, because they go together. And so doing any type of work that is, I prefer one-on-one, working one-on-one with people, but it could be group work or indirect work, but something to kind of maybe set a person a little bit straighter onto their path, because everyone's spiritual path is unique to them. Something I've learned in astrology, human design, and gene keys, of how important that is, that there's no cookie cutter process for awakening. It's unique to each individual based on their own makeup. And that chart, if you will, that birth chart, is in a sense their map, their gateway to enlightenment, is by fully exalting the incarnation that they're here to, that they've been imprinted and coded with at birth, and successfully being that being. And then that kind of opens up the doors to higher consciousness as one approach. I think it's a more a kind of grounded in this dimension type of approach, as opposed to some people just focusing on the love and the light, and love and the light, and love and the light, which is an approach, because then that comes about. That's another type of a thing of focusing on things and creating that frequency in that energetic field in one's life. But I found for myself and for people that I work with, the more empowering way is through facing one's shadow. This is where the gene keys comes in so powerfully. Facing the issues that one was, like I say, encoded with in their DNA, and transforming those shadow aspects into gifts, which is what the gene keys is all about. It's not circumventing or getting around the shadow and just being the light. It's turning the shadow qualities, behavior qualities, and so forth into the gift versions of them. It's the same qualities, just at different frequencies, which is something I found after decades of, looking into different systems and gurus and teachers and teachings and workshops and this and that in the self-improvement and spirituality. That whole area, it's a big area. I found
Yeah.
it to be the key to a lot of people having success in that quest is shadow work, the legitimate shadow work. I mean, really digging in there and facing what needs to be faced, and feeling what needs to be faced holistically, not just mentally, but experientially.
Yeah, we were talking about shadow work earlier today, and it's I mean, it's just part of it. You have to be willing. It's a noble path to go in and really look at those things that are not pretty sometimes. I know even this week, leading up to the summit, and having the eclipse and having retrogrades and having solar flares, it was just, we were getting hit. And I'm like, really? But what was required in that, for me at least, was a big enough squeeze, right? To find the refined little areas that I was still missing. Like, I always jokingly say, oh, you missed a spot. When I have an argument with somebody, maybe they're showing me the spot that I'm still looking to transmute, let's say. And I feel that as humans, we're always picking up those smudges to kind of clear a little bit, but we're also sometimes resistant, to go into that dark, and we push it down and we stuff it away. And I feel through art, art is honestly, for me, oftentimes where we become the most honest with ourselves, and we express through our art the language of our soul, right? In many ways, a lot of artists do, at least I would hope. But what is your advice as an artist who works more in, obviously, all that you create in the spectrum of light consciousness and spiritual art as well? What is some of your tips as far as practice, perhaps, in terms of tapping into, like, the grace stream, as you mentioned?
Well, there's, all the classic things all assist. I mean, grace is one of those things that what I found is you can't make it happen. You can't force it into being. You can only prepare one's own soil of one's self to be fertile for grace to show up if it's going to show up. That's how I look at it anyway. And there's things like, daily meditation, eating healthy, wholesome foods, because the body as our temple is so important and it affects our mood and our tone and our frequency level and so forth, uh, in a kind of indirect way, or I guess a direct way, but it takes time. It's like the things that we eat regularly should be pure and clean and as detoxified as possible and wholesome and healthy. Um, Yoga, exercise, keeping fit and toned and vibrant, and one's radiance alive and active. Um, Being in service to others with one's whatever one's are, because it looks different and unique for everyone. But doing those types of things of uh, uh, activities that benefit other people, one way or another, directly or indirectly, is going to create a kind of a frequency stability in oneself that's a little truer, a little bit realer, and make it easier for grace to happen, should it want to be happening by the grace, uh, the forces that are greater than ourselves, which is, I guess, a place, a kind of a nebulous place that grace comes from. You could say above. Above. That's just figurative, of course. It's not really above. It's within. But wherever it's a greater intelligence, a greater force, our individuality, which is a part of that greater force. You know. So surrounding one's environment, the epigenetics of it, the environment is important. If surrounding oneself is sort of like the feng shui. If one is living in a nice, beautiful, serene and beautiful environment with some lovely paintings that are maybe Buddha or just whatever things that remind a person of their greater part of themselves, the whole, the greater one, the one is aspiring to align with more harmoniously and more powerfully. Um, that can be the thing that's daily input of these reminders. This is where the artwork comes in. Seeing some of the artwork on the walls or on calendars or cards or just whatever it is like a daily, uh, I wouldn't say a trigger, and I don't even know if activation is the exact word, but it's similar to that. It kind of catalyzes and can activate to whatever degree certain expanded frequencies that one can, frequent, one can vibrate at and be their best. So like just the idea of being one best version of oneself type of simplicity doesn't have to be all woo woo. Sometimes it's woo woo, but other times it's just being the best version of ourselves that's kind and generous and considerate and giving of oneself, one's gifts to other people frequently and generously. All those things are just very human stuff. You could even say that a person wouldn't necessarily even have any spiritual training or background or workshops or read books or anything if they just had those simple things, which some people do. Living out on a farm and working with the animals and the plants, gardening and doing all these with nature. That is about as spiritual as one can get.
Yeah.
It's living in harmony, cultivating and nurturing and providing and doing all those wholesome things with Mother Nature. So
Yeah.
those are types of things, some examples.
Yeah, I agree. I feel that sometimes going back to the simpler ways or the indigenous ways or, more connected ways to the planet, um, I feel that that is something that more people are realizing is it's so important. You know, we have to be in tune with our mother, and I know you showcase Gaia in so many beautiful ways in your paintings, and um, the energy of that, and I really do feel, you know, we are like these bridges, right, between heaven and earth, if you will, you know, through these instruments that walk and talk, and we're conduits and creators and co-creators. But I agree, you know, sometimes just taking care of ourselves and taking care of others and helping this planet, you know, just keeping it simple. You know, we get so caught up in the rat race of the maze of the mind, and sometimes that mental miasma really takes its toll. So I would say that could be a block, you know, if we're really wanting to tune into our creative nature as artists, right? And um, one thing I wanted to ask you too is, what is your thought, you know, and I want to say this. I mean, I have something else I'm going to add to this, but what is your thought on this new venture of humanity called NFT? You know, and how artists are coming in. You know, what are your first impressions on that? I know it can be controversial for some, um, and I know that for me, what was interesting is when Heal.art approached me, I actually suggested you to bring angels into their NFT collection because it was a very traditional, let's say, Renaissance kind of, you know, rendition of angels that they were kind of showing. I said, you need to go higher frequency, and so you immediately came to mind. And so I guess you can thank me, or you can be like, thanks, stuff. Yeah, there's that kind. But what are your thoughts about this for artists? You know, how is this going to change the game for artists out there who've a lot of times their art's been, you know, copywritten and, you know, like meaning not copywritten, but copyright infringed upon, let's say, and they've, you know, a lot of times there's that reason people call it the struggling artist, and I just think that it could be interesting, but then maybe there's pitfalls. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's like a lot of things, it's a mixed bag. I think it opens up a lot of potential doorways for a lot of success for artists that may not find it otherwise, just like the internet did. When I first started painting, there was no internet, and it was just galleries was the main place that people uh, and so trade shows. Sometimes there'd be artists there with their little booths selling lead times, but then sometimes there'd be artists there with their little booths selling art. But it can open up the doorways as the whole, you know, digital realm is coming about more and more powerfully. But it's also new, you know, and new. Sometimes there's a Wild West type of things where I hate to see people get too much into the just I want to make money uh, mode through art or through whatever, you know, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, whatever is doing it just to make money. But keep a little bit in mind the aesthetics and the other non monetary qualities of the artwork. I think that's important too. I don't know as much about it as I'm hoping to learn more about it because I'm getting involved with it. But I still have ways to learn because I'm not as technically savvy as some people in that area.
Yeah, it's definitely just burgeoning and just really blooming and coming to life now. I mean, I know one of the things that I've noticed with it is, like you said, it's like I kind of look at some of the art and I'm like, is that really art? I don't know. You know, it's kind of like one of those things. I'm like, but I understand. You know, everybody, there's a pot to every lid, right? I mean, it is what it is. But I do. I think for me, what I felt, and part of the reason why I wanted to do this summit as well, is to bring light and frequency at the level of consciousness that many, and I would say majority of the people, you know, that are watching this, but also the speakers that are holding space as guardians of this light in the summit, that we're kind of saying, yeah, let's bring this into this new world, right? This new Web 3.0 metaverse, whatever we call it, and say that there's a space for integrity, there's a space for high frequency, there's a space for, you know, bringing healing or whatever we can through this platform, because it's getting built. Whether we like it or not, it's getting built. We are becoming technically more digitized in many ways. And I just feel to be resistant to it, then we immediately put ourselves in a conflict position, right? And to come into peace with this it's just saying, okay, it's going to exist, and we're going to bring the light, and we're going to bring it, we're going to elevate it, basically, is the idea that I had, at least. Because I think it's important, not to run away, shy away, and go, I don't know how to do that. I got to go. I'm not going to deal with it. So I'm really happy that you have stepped in to assist us in that. I think it's important.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate your referencing me to the people behind this. Thank you.
So in the energetics, I've done some creative art in my experience. I've dabbled in different things and stuff. But in your experience, I mean, do you have a process where you can kind of connect in and meditate before you paint? Or I know, there's obviously previous consciousness, maybe from different experiences you've had and things of that nature. But what is your process like? Do you connect with angels at all? I mean, I know you paint them all the time in different ways. Do you actually have an experience of that type of supernatural at all, or is this more just your own creative space?
No, it's funny because some people do and some people don't. Because I've had this, kind of inquiry or conversation over the decades, and like I don't really have any personal visitations or encounters or relationships with angels. And so I have kind of an abstract, I kind of look at them as, well, angels are something that have been around for, forever, basically. And I think my theory is that a lot of the times that people talk about extraterrestrial encounters, it's really the same event, but kind of modernized now. Instead of being angels, which they maybe were in the old days, now with modern technology and all this imagery that we have with high tech and everything, um, those encounters show up as encounters with aliens or extraterrestrials. I don't know that that's universal, but it's a theory that I have.
Well, I would say
I
there's
have
definite
I have
crossover, for sure. There's a definite crossover in
yeah.
the sense of consciousness perceiving something multidimensional or hyperdimensional, and the angelic nature of that being, depending on the vibration of it, of course, would be perceived as an angel, right? It could be absolutely perceived as an angel. And I would even say, let's say we take Pleiadians, for instance, they would have their structures of beings at different vibrational levels, and some of them that are high vibration you would perceive as angels. So I do feel it's just a degree and a scale of vibration and frequency, I suppose. But I agree with you. I mean, going back and looking at all, I mean, you think of ancient aliens, or you think of like William Henry's work, or certain people that have brought forward these ideas of that blending you're talking about. Maybe there's a different, maybe there's a blend or a hybrid to that. But sorry, continue. I think you were saying the idea of
Well, no, I mean, then there's this whole thing of like people having uh, a dialogue within themselves, even if they're framing it to be an angel or a saint or God or Jesus or whatever, that they're having a conversation basically with a part of themselves that is bigger than themselves, that is, I don't like the idea of it being separate, but it's a different aspect
right.
of them, of their unique individuality.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think there's great power and great merit in people having a relationship with that which is greater than themselves, and a certain humility about that, as opposed to egoic type framing or attitude or approach. And I think it'd be very beneficial. Just as I think when people are having trouble with their lives, they can seek some help from someone that's maybe gone before them, whether it's a counselor, a guidance person, or a spiritual teacher, or a friend, or whatever it is. But that's something I've always kept with me my whole life. Is I'm on my own as far as my own spiritual path. But when I run into trouble, or I could use maybe a little another perspective on something that I'm in the middle of, even if I'm not so much having trouble, but it's something that's pretty challenging, and I want to get a little, another angle view on it, I might go to someone and ask for a little feedback. Usually it's a confident, astrologer that I feel confident with. I have some certain ones that are, um, I consider masters, and that I, go to every few years and get a little check in and
Yeah.
see what's going on, what's coming up here, or just pivotal points in my life. And that always helps me. And I think it's good that people do that, whether it's internal or external, but to ask for a little help when they need it and get some guidance. I don't like the idea of people asking to be given stuff as much to be shown the way type of
Mm.
prayer.
Yeah. I
Prayer is a good thing. It's like,
yeah, I agree
show
with
me.
you. I agree with you. It's dangerous, I think, in our day and age to have the gurus, right? To have these ideas of putting people up on pedestals in the way that we think of gurus, right? And like, oh, let me give my power away to this person because they can heal me or fix me. Or I'm of the ilk similar to you that it's like, let me give you the tools because I know you have everything in you and you just forgot. I'm going to give you the tools to help you go mining and find the angelic treasure within you that you're going to regain. And I'd rather do that than create codependency, frankly. I mean, I don't think that's healthy, right? When we have people just attached and like, please help me, that energy doesn't feel good. So I agree with you. It's important to empower people um, versus take their power. And frankly, I do see a lot of people sometimes doing that. And we know that works out, how that works out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Daniel, it's so funny when I tune into you, it's just this wisdom that's innate and the humble heart comes forward very much so. And, you know, I do believe it's important to have a humble heart. And I believe the humble heart is really the gateway into what we might call the source field, what we might call that energy that is the creative energy. We're kind of hot off the press light, right? That creative space. So it makes sense the gifts that you have and the ability that you have to tap into those frequencies because Yeshua brought this in one time. I work with him quite a bit and Magdalene as well. But Yeshua, that aspect of self, really, that's the aspect of many selves, right? Um, Came in and just said, yeah, if you really are looking to get to know the alignment that is the purest holy fire, if you will, that energy, that seraphim, I call it as well, you must go through the humble heart. There is no other way to get it. You're not going to get it if you're coming from ego because that power is not going to be given to those that are coming from ego and want power, right, in general. So it's fascinating, as we're evolving as humans. And I also want to say, just to kind of reflect back on what you were sharing, is I talk about this as well. We have these different aspects, right? Angels are really aspects of ourselves. They're us helping us, right? It's just we perceive them maybe in different ways, But yeah, I agree with you. It's just us helping us. We just forgot that we're that too, right? Until we figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's what in the Bible, there's some passage which people are taking uh, uh, in a too much literal way, which is somewhere it says, you can't reach the kingdom of God except through me. I think it's some attribute to Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think he was meaning exactly what you're saying, meaning through the heart, through love, not through the Bible. The Bible
Or
wasn't
him
even
literally.
around then, not through some Christian interpretation, some Christian sect interpretation of the Bible either, which a lot of people do. They take it so literally
Yeah.
and get into a kind of an ego thing around it. But yeah, I think there isn't a opening. Um, it's one of the things that's in the Gene Keys material that's kind of an offshoot to the side. It doesn't go into too much detail on the Gene Keys, but it's also from Richard Rudd, who's the author of the Gene Keys, called the Seven Sacred Seals. And these are the sealed areas in our collective in humanity that are sealing us from the higher dimensions, that are
Mm.
kind of cutting us off into kind of sealing us into this dimension. And that there are ways of breaking those seals open. And that it's going on it can be done individually, which is difficult because they're collective issues, but it's being done. It's in the process of being done collectively as we speak until there's a um, more opening, more access to grace and to information and to everything it's in those expanded realms, and that includes the angelic realms, I guess you could say.
It's interesting you mentioned seven, because seven's very significant in my work as well. But I work with seven archangels, or light streams, really. I call them light streams more than angels, as beings. I see them as these whole streams of light, right? And when I first got awakened, the consciousness that came through was saying, angelic light stream. I'm like, what's the angelic light stream? And I got Google it, right? I'm like, okay. So what I did, I was led to the Essene Gospel of Peace and the Holy Stream of Light, as well as the sound, Holy Stream of Sound and the Holy Stream of Life. And what it showed me was that really the practices of Yeshua and Magdalene and Mother Mary and all these beautiful masters were working with the angels, but they didn't work with them from a place of Michael and Gabriel and personifying them with these powers and all this. It was really about the angel of air, the angel of water, the angel of earth, right? All the elemental, connections. And it was such a beautiful experience to connect into that document, because what I really felt from it at a frequency level was this tremendous activation of remembrance, right? Of that timeline, if you will. And I do believe that many of us, many in the summit and many, watching, are connected somehow to these Essenes, these masters of light, really. And so I feel that from you, whether you know that or not. So I just wanted to share that. And I do feel that we're all carrying now these keys, like the gene keys, as you talked about. I call them the angelic dream keys that I work with. I work with these frequencies, the 72 angels. And so there's so many maps of consciousness or paths, ways up the mountain, if you will, now that are different than the religious ways, which I think is interesting. It's more like a blend of science and spirit or whatever, right? Consciousness. And that's human evolution, right? If we can kind of be willing to let go of what we always want to hold just really dogmatically to. It's like, well, make a little wiggle room because you're expanding, and this light didn't just stop coming in 2,000 years ago or whenever these scriptures came in. It's, it keeps coming in and you keep rising into it. So you might as well just accept that it might shift and change a bit. And as you know, humans don't like change too much sometimes, but we do what we can to support them through that. What would you say? Oh, there's so much to reflect off you. You're such a beautiful being. What would you say, in the experience of transformation that you've gone through, what was your pivotal point in really realizing that you had a divine nature? Like there was an element of you connected to the creator of the soul that you are, right?
Well, that was when I was very young. I was just 15 or 16 years old, back in San Jose in 1968, maybe 1969, taking LSD. There was very pure LSD back then, and there was a lot of music, the Beatles and other bands talking about expanded consciousness, and then the whole Eastern religion with meditation and yoga, and um, Alan Watts, he was sort of like the Eckhart Tolle of the 60s, was very popular, writing all about these Eastern religions and things. And reading those books and then taking LSD kind of combined would open me up a couple times anyway. I had some bad trips too because I was young, didn't really understand the shadow and how that worked. But it was an eye-opening experience, and it really set me on the path of a spiritual seeking and wanting to understand myself and find harmony in myself with life, because it was very I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, like a lot of people, and it was very troubling to me, and I wanted to find a solution to it. I wanted to be happy, and have a fulfilling life, and one that integrated some of these spiritual um, tastes that I had had on the psychedelics.
Mm.
And it's not something I promote. I don't promote people doing psychedelics unless under very specialized circumstances. But that's the way it opened the doors for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. People joke sometimes I'll take them on journeys and they're like, that was like a DMT trip. It's really funny. And I'm like, I've never been on a DMT trip. I don't know. I'll take your word for it. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Everybody's different. Some people require that that opening, and I would say probably back when you were doing it, like you said, it was very pure, very different than it is now even. Um, but people come to me all the time, do I do ayahuasca and this and that? And I said, it's a soul calling. I'm not here to tell
Yeah,
you. It's a soul calling. And I can say, do you need
totally.
to do it to open up? Probably not. But some people do, but just do it safely and appropriately with the right people around you to govern your soul. Because if it leaves the body, you want to make sure you have security on staff, right? I give them some protocols as to what to consider and where to do it. I wouldn't do it in the middle of Los Angeles, for instance. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that because I know for many back in the day, like I know even, when I think about my mom, she did some astral traveling. She got some book to teach you how to astral travel. She did it and she went out of the body and it freaked her out. And as soon as she thought, oh my God, I'm out of my body, it's like she was right back in. And so there was a lot of, expansion during the 60s that I think was kind of this seeding, right? And it's like, and every so many decades, then it's like another seeding. And what do you feel right now, just tuning into who you are, and what you're seeing and feeling in general in this world? What do you feel is the most important way that we can really maintain our light in kind of the storms, and find that inner peace, in terms of on the daily, like what is a practice you do every day? I know maybe meditation. Is there anything else?
Well, there's those things that I mentioned, which are kind of the lifestyle,
Right, the
wholesome and
yoga
healthy
and everything.
diet, exercise, meditation, those things.
Yeah,
Those are all supportive processes, none of which are the path. They're all supportive practices, is
right.
all. And
Do you have
I
a
think that
favorite? I guess my
yeah,
question would be, do you have a favorite practice? Is there something specific that
the
you
one that
do
I
that
think is
you?
the most important, more that trumps all the rest of them, is giving uh, one's self, one's gifts to others generously,
Mm,
fulfilling one's purpose in life, which can be defined in human design and gene keys and even astrology. You can get a much clearer idea of what a person's purpose is, not a doing, because doesn't matter the doing.
right.
The doing is subordinate.
Mm,
It's the being, the qualities of being that one brings to one's daily life. And like, let's say one's purpose is to lighten the hearts of others, just bring a little sunshine into others' lives. So they could be a bank teller, and everyone that comes to them, they leave there a little bit more brightened than they came, you know. So it's just a quality of being, not the doing
yeah,
that one is up to. Doing is important. It's not that it's not important at all. It's just that it's contingent upon the quality of being, and it's hopefully a person can find a doing activity that is totally aligned with those qualities that they are clear about in themselves, that is their purpose, their higher purpose, and that they can be fulfilling that higher purpose. And that's going to keep them buzzing or humming at a higher frequency and more able to access grace and the synchronicities and the magic of life, so that they're not struggling as much and not having a hard time of it.
yeah. We have a few comments I just want to share with you. One one is Greggy says, music is the universal language, awareness through nature, and hours sitting in nature, listening with all awareness open the doors for me. Generously give and graciously receive. And Greggy, he and I met on Clubhouse, which is an audio app. And one time I was leading a meditation with him with these frogs. because he's in Hawaii, and it was just, like the frog noises, right? And it was awesome because we just transported into that portal of their music. And so, Greggy, welcome. Thank you for being here. And Jeanette says, loving giving one's gifts to others. Yes. And Greggy comes back. I love baking cookies and delivering them to people. That's a good thing. I love that, Greggy. Thanks for sharing that. I always joke, I'm like, I came for the food. I don't know about anybody else, but this is the best planet for food. I'm going to tell you, it just is. Earth is like the Vegas of the universe when it comes to like all the restaurants and everything, and all the types of experiences we can have, right, with food. And I jokingly say, some good chocolate. It's just what it is. Does anybody have any questions? I want to make sure Q&A Angels is open. You can ask questions. Don't leave it all up to me. You can ask your own questions of Daniel and what he is as an artist as well. And make sure that you follow him on awakenedvisions.com. Go to his website and check him out and get, connected. Now, Daniel, are you on any social media? I know maybe that's not your thing, but I'm curious. Are you?
Well, my biggest area that I engage with is Facebook.
Okay.
So under my name, Daniel Holeman, there's a Facebook page.
Awesome.
And I post things that are meaningful to me there. If I was a little bit more bandwidth for it, I would probably be more active on other media as well. I do have accounts on Twitter, but I never use it.
Yeah.
And same with some of the other ones, LinkedIn and stuff. I don't use them.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I don't really use LinkedIn for some reason. There's just certain ones that we resonate with. I created my own called the Angelhood, which you're welcome to join, but it's really for high vibration, because I feel like a lot of these networks, they get a little weird. Yeah. So I just wanted to create my own sanctuary where I didn't have to be always engaging with the drama. Let's just call it what it is. So yeah, and you're welcome to join us there and share anything you'd like from your art and so forth. One of the elements also that I think's kind of interesting with your work, just to give you some feedback on it, is going back to what I was sharing about before, is the activations, right? And so when I tune into light, right, and again, governing all these angelic light streams, I weave it, right? So I weave these energies and they will do certain things in my energy centers, and it's all alchemy, I suppose, harmonizing. And one of the things you've been bringing up is the harmony, the importance of harmony. And I talk about harmonic alignment, light optimization, or halo, right? And so when I was working with your art, I remember I was drawn to your art many years ago, actually, before this deck, that I shared earlier came out. And I know I see your art kind of all over the internet. I'm sure some of that isn't legal, but but I want to say this, one of the things for me that's super important, and I want to speak to all artists out there and people who love art, to be in integrity with it, because the frequencies of these pieces that Daniel creates, right, are from his soul, or from his heart, his creation. And just like you wouldn't want somebody to come into your house and just, take a picture off the wall, just keep that in mind, because I think a lot of times there's this free notion of art just is for everybody. Now, in another sense, I guess it is, because who owns copyright to anything? We're all one energy and unified. So there's that argument, I guess, too. Where do you stand in that? How do you feel about all that?
You mean of other people using the artwork?
No, just generally, like the idea of, people will just go on Google and like type something in and they see your art and they just add it to their website, or they take it, or like some people get really upset about that. And then other people like more the merrier, get the frequency out. And so I'm just curious, like, where's the fine line in that? You know what I mean? Because we want to honor it, right? We want to be in integrity with it and make sure that we're valuing it and valuing you as the artist. So I guess that's where we circle back around the NFT factor, because that will help with those things. But what are your thoughts on where we're going, or where we've been, and how we can respect artistry?
I'm kind of in the same vein as the Grateful Dead, where they make money with their shows and a little bit from the records, with their tours, but they don't try to control it like a lot of corporations do. They let people record and share and make T-shirts, and don't demand royalties and stuff like that. And I'm kind of that persuasion, where I like that if they don't crop off my name off the bottom, simply so that people know where something come from, because people wonder. And I've seen it on Facebook many times where people say on someone's Facebook page, say, "Who's the artist on this?" Because they cropped off my name.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do that,
Yeah.
but I like it if they leave the name on whatever they do, if they put it on their website or whatever. If they're going to be making money with it, then that's a different matter.
Mm.
Then they can contact me and discuss some type of a fair royalty. And I'm certainly easygoing when it comes to that because I like people to make money with my artwork if they can, because I'm not
Mm.
much of a business person. But if
Mm.
someone else is great, more power. Let me just have a little cut. So I'm pretty relaxed on that. I do think that it's important to give artists credit and particularly get permission if you're making money with it, but just to show it and share it, I think that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I agree with you in that for the most part. It's, you know, there's certain things, I think there's certain things that it's appropriate to have a container around, right? In my work as well. And then there's things I'll just put out and just there's replays and people will share it. And it just depends what it is. So I agree with you. It's a balance, right? There's certain things for paying the bills and there's certain things that we just give for free. And it's always harmony and balance about that. But I love that your generosity in that. And I do feel that, um, there's a new wave coming in of respect for art. And because really how I look at art is you're creating worlds. You're creating expressions of realities, whether, and I'm speaking to you, but I'm also speaking to other artists in the room. Your imagination station is where it's happening, right? And that's what's creating all these different dimensional realities. And we do it in different ways, and I would just say that power of creation and that power of artistry is really why we come in here. The co-creative nature is how we access that God nature, if you will, the God self, the source self that comes in through us as instruments. And so I just want to say, in witnessing the work that you've done already, and I'm sure there'll be more to come, which is so exciting. Maybe you and I will collaborate at some point, which would be awesome. But is really high frequency, and I just want to honor that because the frequency comes from the individual, from the person, and frequency never lies. It just emanates through everything. So when I look at your pieces, I know it's because of what the vessel has done to create that temple, create that instrument of purity and light. And it doesn't mean you're a perfect person. I'm just going to say, I know who you are from those levels, that you're really tapping in because you embody it, because you live it. And I just want to honor that. I really want to say thank you for that because it's important. Because a lot of artists are in pain and you see their art and it looks pretty, but it's like the frequency, like I said, it's like, kind of have to pull back because there's still a process in there. Sometimes it's like they're doing their work on canvas maybe, or they're doing their work in an expression that isn't necessarily for prime time, isn't necessarily for others always. And it's okay. I don't judge it. I just know that that's not what I'm able to hold space with always. Sometimes I just want to come in and be looking at the beauty and feel the frequency. And that's what I get from your pieces. So I just want to say thank you for bringing it in.
Well, it's very kind of you, Stephanie. Very, very appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's part of that thing of like if I'm having a positive impact, whether it's through words or somehow giving a person some sort of a fine-tunement on their path. Maybe they just need a little adjustment, a little reminder, through conversation, or just pointing to a little something or other in themselves, or turning them on to a tool that might benefit them, such as the gene keys, which is basically what I found to be the most valuable tool as far as systems goes out there. But yeah, whether it's doing that or inspiring them through artwork, it's all kind of the similar thing, just different avenues of expression. But it's having a positive impact, bringing some a little bit closer to home, a little closer, a little bit more on track, a little bit feeling uplifted or inspired. And then that makes me feel like I'm doing my job.
Well, you are, and you're doing a great job. And I just want to say, everybody, thank you for witnessing our conversation and being part of it. And I want to give you once again, Awaken Visions. Just typing it into our chat room here. AwakenVisions.com.
Yeah, it's
Where you can find,
AWAKEN.
huh?
AWAKEN.
Yeah.
And Visions. Awaken Visions. It's like
AwakenVisions.com is where you can find more of Daniel's art. You can connect with him if you're interested in learning more about the gene keys and the transformational work that he does as well. Because again, you're multifaceted. Like many of us are multifaceted anyway, right? We're diamond light beings. We're so prismatic. So you can find him on awakenvisions.com. You can connect with any of the oracle decks. Well, can you say, okay, so this is one of them, the Secret Language of Light. I think you said Alana Fairchild has a new deck. Do you happen to remember the name, or do I need to look it up for them?
you want me to get it? You want me to get it and show it to you?
You can. That would be great. I would love to see it. Yeah. We're just gonna see some other elements. Let's see. Catherine says, I absolutely love and enjoy my light language cards. Yes, right? So much goodness in this deck. Secret Language of Light, everybody. Okay. And it's Denise Jarvie is the author, and Daniel's the artist. So definitely get your copy. You can find it. And what's this one?
The light's not too good here, is it?
Oh, Angelic Lightwork. Awesome. Well, that is my next deck. I promise you that. I
Because
am
the
getting
reflection
it
on the screen.
right away. I'm a deck freak, by the way. I collect them. I love it.
Yeah, this
Beautiful.
one's great. I really like having decks out there. It's really nice to have people seeing these things and enjoying them and feeling that frequency inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I look forward to getting that deck because that's right up my alley. Angelic Lightwork is, I say it's light surfing. I like to say light surfing versus working, but yes. I will be surfing with that deck. So I love you. Thank you so much for being here, Daniel, being part of Angelic Summit and bringing all of the wisdom you are and all of the light and the artistry. And
my pleasure, Stephanie. Thank you.
So glad we got
Thanks
to
for doing this whole event. It was really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, and come back and watch some of the others. Stephen Altiero will be in just a little while after you, and can do some really nice meditation with him. So yeah, definitely come back in if you'd like. And I just want to say, Catherine's saying, okay, let's just see what's coming in before we go. Catherine Ann is saying, I always imagined to connect with the artist of that deck. So excited to have it finally happen. So blessed. Thanks again, angels, for connecting us. Blessings and love. Oh, thank you, Catherine. And Shelly Bowman's here. And she says, I want that angelic light work. Amazing. Yeah, right, Shelly. And Shelly will be joining us tomorrow night to close out the summit. She is the CEO of Heal.art. She's the one that kind of inspired this whole collaboration. So thank you, Shelly, for being here tonight. Oh my goodness. And Juliana also says, looks like my next deck. Everyone needs 57 decks, right? That's true, Juliana. Right? We have so many decks. I have like a whole wall. I have a whole Bodhi tree store practically in my house. Oh my goodness. And then Emma says, yes, Catherine agreed. I'm going to get that new deck. And Greggy says, yes, many decks. So thank you, angels, for the hearts. Thank you for the love and the reactions. And again, for those of you on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to be part of these kind of conversations and engagements in our lounge after these sessions as well, feel free to come in, get your VIP Angel or Diamond Angel Pass at AngelicSummit2022.com. I'll post the link shortly. And again, thank you, Daniel, for being here. Until we see you again, just giving you big hugs.
Thank you. Blessings.
Blessings. Love you. All right. Bye.